everybody, and welcome to the House of Mario, the South Australian Nintendo podcast that is backed by a 120 Power Star rating. I'm your host, Drew Agnew, and the doors to episode 242 are open. Today on the show, we might be seeing Advance Wars 1+2 very soon, so surely a Nintendo Direct is just around the corner. I hope you're going well. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever and whenever you listen to this show, and I really appreciate you visiting me here at the House of Mario. I've had a great week so far. The last couple of days, I've actually had a good amount of time to just sit down and start making some assets and start really putting some things in place for the content I'm going to create over the next, couple of months, year, whatever. I don't know what's going on. But it's been nice to sort of get it going because if you don't know, basically a couple of episodes ago, I said that Fridays are going to become dedicated to content creation. And, this is my third Friday dedicated to that. And I've noticed that the day goes very, very fast and I don't get anywhere near as much as I'd like done. I don't know if that's my own fault or it's just because, a day isn't as long as as long as you might think. Because I know a day at my normal job, that goes a lot slower. I can tell you that. It goes very fast. I'm looking at the time right now. Just let's break the fourth wall here just for a second. It's 2:20 in the afternoon and today it's gone very fast. I would have liked to got this recorded a little bit earlier. But alas, here we are. It is what it is. It is what it is. But yes, time goes very fast, so I don't know how I feel about that. But I haven't played as many games over the last week as I did the week before, and I think I might blame a certain game on that, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But if you would like to support the show, you can follow me over on YouTube at iDruby, youtube.com/iDruby, where you can check out this very podcast as well as other videos I've got planned for the future. Got plenty of things up there, including other podcasts, news breakdowns, all this type of thing I've got planned, but I've been working on over the last couple of days. So very much would appreciate that. If you are listening over on YouTube, you can go to your podcast services and listen to the podcast there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that. And of course, you can go to patreon.com/iDruby, where it's from $1 a month. You can get access to Heaps Good, a podcast I do with my good friend Josh from Nintenvania, and also Secret Recordings, which is a weekly show where I sit down and go behind the scenes of what's going on as far as the content goes. But a big shout out to our latest patron, Brendan Myers, who signed up at the $3 level. Thank you very much, Brendan. Really appreciate all the support you've shown me over the last few months, year even. I really do appreciate it, mate. Joining the Discord, giving me feedback, sending me messages, and joining us on Patreon. So it's just a massive confidence boost for me. Really appreciate it. And of course, it's a good step going forward as far as what's to come, because this is just the very beginning. So strap in. I hope you get your money's worth over on patreon.com/iDruby. So let's start off with the Guru Geek Out. This is a tribute to my late friend, Bobby Pauls, the Nintendo Guru. I want to give a special shout out to a good friend of mine, someone who I met through Twitter and podcast creation, all of that. And that is my good friend, Simon Blackburn. And Simon and I, we don't talk as much as I would like. It is what it is. He's got 3 kids now. I've got 1. I'm sure he's very busy. But, Simon, he's such a talented man. He is the man that actually drew up the House of Mario logo and a lot of the stuff that I used on Patreon a couple of years ago, and everything just looked awesome, immaculate, and I wish I had a tenth of the ability that man has as far as his graphic design. Looks awesome. But I want to shout out his brand new avenue that he's going down called F1 Pocket. And it's basically a short form show on YouTube, TikTok, all of that short form video platforms where he's actually breaking down F1 events and all that type of thing. I'm not a big F1 guy. I don't know anything about F1, but it's one of those things I actually want to get into because I've got a racing wheel and I want to get into the games and stuff. So I think with Simon making this, it's actually like, cool, I'm going to listen up and get a little bit educated about the drivers and all that's going on. So if you are into F1, I know some of you guys out there, I'm going to just point out Jamie Penning. I know you love your F1. Go and check out F1 Pocket on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, all of that type of stuff. He's everywhere. You can't escape Simon. So just big shout out to Simon. Love the man. Go and support his stuff because he's going to do awesome stuff with that platform. So let's move on to my week in gaming. It's a lot shorter than it was the week before, and that's because I've only played one game, and that is a game that came out last week, which is Dead Space, a remake of the 2008 game that came out on PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. I never played the original, but it was always one of those games that was on my backlog, which I really wanted to jump into. And when the news came out that it was being remade, I was certainly excited about it. You know, that's going to be a day one pickup. Actually, a day two pickup for me because I couldn't make it the day of, but it is what it is. Went down to Big W, picked up a physical copy, brought it back, dove into it that night. And survival horror games really aren't my forte whatsoever. You know, I barely play them, and it's not because I dislike them or I don't want to play them. It's just the whole horror genre typically isn't what's at the forefront of what I want to jump into. Even when I'm on Netflix or some streaming service, I'm not going to the horror section. I'm not checking out, you know, the latest horror movies or games or content coming out. So it's very much similar with the games, I guess. So jumping into it, it made me realize how sort of not my forte survival horror was. And that might largely come from being a Nintendo gamer where I'm used to playing just colorful hip hip hooray, happy music type of games. But you know, jumping into Dead Space, I noticed straight away it's a fantastic game, and just like the attention to detail on the environments and just the way the game looks is immaculate. And I guess it should be, because that is largely the reason this thing exists. So going through it, I made sure I played it at nighttime, headphones on, and just like the audio design, everything about it just creeps you out, just chills to your bones. And the whole premise of this game is you're stranded upon, I guess, an abandoned spaceship, that Ishimura, which is basically this big vessel that harvests asteroids for different materials and that. And without going too much into the whole lore and story of it, something happened. There's barely anyone on, and there's these alien things getting around. So you're like, oh, what's going on here? And you sort of discover what's happened over the course of, you know, the events that led to this, and through like, you know, your typical thing, you come across notes and all that. And for me, in games, I'm all about the audio logs, and there are audio logs in this game, thankfully. But when it comes to like letters and stuff, especially when the game doesn't actually pause, I've got no interest in sitting there and reading it. Like I'm on this action sequence. I'm like, oh, there's a letter. Well, let me read that. You know, I was literally just shitting my pants 2 minutes before, well, 1 second before. But now I'm going to sit down and have a nice read of this person, you know, their struggles, their tribulations, what they went through before they died. And then I'll get back to shooting this alien thing in the face. You know, it's typically, I tried to, like, you know, the opening hours of the game, I'm like, oh, I better try and, you know, understand the whole lore and backstory to it all. But that fell by the wayside pretty quick. So I've probably played it about 7 hours according to my game clock. And I got to the point where after probably, that was about 3 play sessions, you know, once each night, it got to the point where I'm like, I can't be in this world anymore. I'm just so burnt out. And it was to the point where, like, you know, the next day I'm like stressed. I'm like feeling built up. And I guess that's what the game's intention is, to stress you out and make you scared and all that. So it definitely worked on that behalf. But I found myself just like really wanting to play something else. But I know for my own sake, if I go into something else, which, you know, the next game I really want to dive into is a big game, a Tellurizer 2. I don't know if I'll come back to Dead Space. I'm disciplined this year. I'm going to make sure I finish my games before I move on, unless I really don't like it. And that's not the case for Dead Space. But I just got kind of sick of the gameplay loop. And while I want to criticize this aspect of the game, which is, it kind of doesn't make any sense, because this is this kind of applies to all video games, which is a little bit strange to even think about criticizing. But it is very much like you're in this tense situation. You're going down these corridors. You know, you get to where the game wants you to go. The story unravels. Oh, you've got to go and, I don't know, start the engine. So you got to go somewhere else. You go through some enemies and all that. You start the engine. It's just like, go here, go there, go there, go there. And like, I'm like stressed. I'm like, as I'm going from each area, I'm like, just finish. I just want this experience to be over in some ways. So, I hope it only takes another couple of play sessions to get finished with this game, because honestly, I just want to move on with my life. And I know it might sound like I'm down on the game, but really, it just scares the shit out of me. It doesn't even scare me. Like my first couple of hours, I'm sitting with the controller, just breathing like that the whole time. There's no like, oh my God. There's no like jump scares where Chantel can hear me in the next room, like, oh, you got scared at the game or anything like that. It is just like tense the whole time. I'm like, eyebrows are getting a bit sweaty. My hands are getting sweaty. So it's good at least to get a survival horror game under my belt. I can't even remember if I've played any others, to be honest with you. I haven't really touched the Resident Evil series that much. I've played maybe like 5 hours of Resident Evil 7, which I enjoyed, but I think it got to the point where I'm like, I don't need to play, I don't know how long that game is, 10, 15, 20 hours, however long beyond 10 hours. I'm like, I don't need that long an experience in this type of setting. Like I can spend, I don't know, 50 hours in a JRPG, going around, grinding, getting some story, haha, fun. Or like a Mario platformer or something like that. But I think it was one of the Alien games where when I heard that like it was like 20 hours, was it Alien Isolation, but that game takes 20 hours to beat. I was like, that sounds miserable. 20 hours or whatever have you. I don't understand why you'd want to spend that long in that type of environment. Like you just want to 10 hours maximum, you know, get a ship, go back to Earth. You're all hunky-dory. I think that's a good way to go. I hope that happens with me in a Dead Space. Because I remember when I was really young, Bryce actually had a Half-Life 2 mod, which was really interesting. And somebody made a horror game within the Half-Life engine. And he brought his laptop, and it was 4 of us sitting playing this game. I got no idea what it was called. I can't remember. It involved heaps of mannequins and all that. But it was about a 4-hour experience, and the story was really gripping. And it was just like a nice sit down, and you had that intrigue, and you got your story, your scares, and all of that. And that was good. But I don't know about a week of sitting down with a horror game. I don't know if I need it to be that long. But what's funny is when I actually went to get Dead Space, I noticed I had Resident Evil Village on PlayStation 5 for $25. And later this month, PlayStation VR 2 comes out, which actually has a VR mode in Resident Evil Village. So I'm like, oh, well, $25, I'll pick it up and I'll experience there. But you can imagine from what I said in this discussion, I don't know, 15 hours in horror game VR? I don't think so, but I'd like to try it for maybe an hour. I guess $25 isn't so bad for that, but that's another game for my backlog, but I don't count that. I won't count that. I just want the VR experience, and that'll be that. So that's pretty much what I've been playing this week. Really been enjoying it, but I want to get it done. I want it in the distance and have it finished. Because Dead Space has been in my backlog for far too long. All right, let's get into some news, guys. There really isn't much this week, but there are some topics I'd like to attach to each sort of. I'm not even going to call them news stories. There's a couple of rumors and all that, and just I guess random stuff as far as the US eShop goes with game vouchers. But let's get into it. So Walmart has apparently received Advance Wars Reboot Camp posters that say available now. I'm going to read this from my Nintendo News and then we'll jump into the story. So it seems as though the rumors surrounding the imminent Nintendo Direct presentation show no signs of slowing down. A Walmart worker over on Reddit claims that a delivery recently came through which included 3 new cardboard displays for the store's gaming section. The person says the cardboard displays were for Minecraft Legends, which has a release date shared last week at the Developer Direct. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is now scheduled for the 12th of May. And finally, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, which apparently says available now. So, but there are no photos to sort of, say that this is, proof. Even though a photo in 2023 isn't really proof, unfortunately. But this is interesting because, Advance Wars 1+2, it was delayed. It was meant to come out April last year, but it was delayed because of, the war in Ukraine, and Nintendo, I think rightfully so, just thought it was just not appropriate to release a game in, those social conditions, especially with the game really sort of playing into the war setting, even though it is very much, cartoony and Nintendo-ified. But I think they made the right call, and it sort of led us to really think about, will we ever see this game? The war in Ukraine is still raging, hasn't slowed down. And is it okay to release it now? Is it okay to release it when it's over? I don't know. Personally, for me, I feel like it's fine, to release it. I think they did the right thing, but I think there's a lot of fans out there who would really enjoy, playing this game, including myself. I like to play it. I never played Advance Wars on the Game Boy Advance, so I like an opportunity to play it on Switch. And it seems like, they've done a great job adding voice acting and everything to it as well. So I just wanted to, I guess, everyone's talking about the Nintendo Direct. This is Nintendo Direct season. I would say that there are a lot of rumors at the moment that we are going to get a Direct. I wouldn't even say the rumors. I think people are just making very educated guesses. People are pointing towards articles that, Jeff Grubb has said this about a Nintendo Direct. And even me in my spare bedroom here recording the House of Mario, I can make the exact same educated guess that within the next week or two, we would have seen or heard about a Nintendo Direct officially from Nintendo. I can wholeheartedly say that. I don't have to be an insider or anything like that. Because we know how that went a few months ago, late last year, with the Zelda games. Did we ever get them? No. Could anybody guess that? Yes. Yes, they could. But I'm really excited about this Nintendo Direct, and that's because we know not much at all about what's coming out. And even Zelda, we don't know anything about Tears of the Kingdom apart from the name and a few trailers that had a bunch of, not even gameplay, but it seems like, clips and that just thrown together. And we were able to dissect things like, oh, look, it's called Tears of the Kingdom. It looks like you're collecting tears. Looks like, Skyloft is, you can go to Skyloft or some resemblance of Skyloft in there. There's ties to Skyward Sword. We can put all these things together, and if you're real nerdy, you can get into the Reddit and all the big forums on online to really get into what people are thinking this game is leading story-wise. But we really don't know anything about how these mechanics will work in the actual game, how the overworld has drastically changed, how you're able to utilize the sky in the open world. Are you able to seamlessly just jump off the island and go back down to Hyrule? We don't know these things, and we're going to get them answered most likely in this Direct, because we're not waiting for an E3 Direct. We're not waiting for another Direct. This will be the Direct we find out about Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, or at least get that marketing train rolling until May 12th, which is going to be, certainly the biggest game on Nintendo Switch, easily. Be the biggest game since Breath of the Wild on Switch, I dare say. But be one of the biggest launches this year, period. At least just like the most hyped launch. It won the most anticipated game at the Game Awards. So there's a lot going on with this game as far as what people's expectations are, the hype going towards it, how Nintendo's going to handle the marketing rollout for it. So just Zelda alone, really excited about it, because at the moment, I think a lot of people have this sentiment as well. We're obviously excited for Zelda. We're sitting down, we're thinking about it. New Zelda game, nice. Awesome. Going to put that in my Switch. Going to play it for 80 hours, maybe 100 hours, maybe 200 hours, maybe get all the Korok seeds again. Who knows? But we really haven't been hyped up about it, I guess. We haven't, like I said, we haven't got that marketing rollout yet to really understand what the game's about. So apart from just it's a new Zelda game, it comes out in 4 months, we really don't know anything else about it. So really excited from that front. And looking at the rest of Nintendo's slate as well, what are we sort of expecting to get out of the Switch throughout the rest of the year? Because we've already got Fire Emblem Engage, which came out, great game. Pikmin 4 is meant to come out this year sometime, so that's another game I'd like to see broken down. If we've got a release date, that would be fantastic as well. More gameplay. We only got like sort of a teaser trailer before. So hopefully Pikmin 4 isn't a game that slips out of this year. Hopefully it is very much set in stone. Nintendo might that is a game that is very possible that they could have held as well. We talked last week that Fire Emblem Engage was finished in 2021. So that game was held, and I think rightfully so. It made sense considering what Nintendo had last year. It was a packed last year in 2022. So saving that game, potentially Pikmin as well, I think that would be a smart move. And hopefully we get some other games like in that sort of ballpark. You know, Pikmin 4, it's a big game for us Nintendo fans, but as far as drawing brand new players to Nintendo Switch in its 6th year, you know, I don't think it's the game to do that. And I think the only game this year might be Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom to do that. But personally for me, I think this is going to be the last, say, at most 18 months that Nintendo Switch is going to be the lead platform for Nintendo. You know, personally for me, I really do hope that we will get a brand new Switch or brand new hardware, you know, next year sometime. Really sort of seeing it as far as the games and how it runs and all that. But as far as the experiences we are still getting from the Switch is still, you know, a great versatile system with the Joy-Cons and everything that it gives us. So I'm happy to keep playing it, especially if Nintendo keep putting out experiences that utilize that hardware well. And I think for me, so there's probably a couple of games left that Nintendo can put out there that makes me go, just explode everywhere, you know, not diarrhea, not wet myself or anything like that, but explode like TNT just in my hand, and I forgot to let it go because I was so excited. So last year we got Mario Strikers. That was my moment last year where I just like lost it. I had had the house to myself, so I was able to show my true emotions as far as finally getting a Mario Strikers game. But this year, this is the one. I want that Kid Icarus Uprising remake for Nintendo Switch. That is the game where I'll be like, oh my god, we've already got Smash Brothers. We've already had multiple Pokemon games. We've got a new Zelda game coming. Hey, I guess there's a Mario game. But in some ways that's, you know, I'll be very happy, very excited for a Mario game, but that's not like, oh my god, they did it type of thing. Of course we're getting a Mario game eventually. I think it'll be smart not to do it this year. We've already got Zelda this year. I know in 2017 they had both. But I think Mario would be a great game to sort of like hold for the next system. I would love to see a brand new Mario game at launch. Brand new hardware to play, brand new toy, all the excitement, and a big launch of a Mario game or Mario Kart or something like that. I reckon would be awesome. Similar to what we had with Switch, with Breath of the Wild. Wasn't it great to have like an awesome game to go along with a system that felt different? Like with Wii U, it was like, oh, it actually, you know, the first few weeks of the Wii U was actually kind of cool. You got a very different sort of, you know, you got the gamepad, got the Miiverse, all this different stuff that you could do that, you know, your PlayStation and Xbox didn't do necessarily. But I was stuck playing New Super Mario Bros. So what does all that mean? So I'd rather just they hold a couple of things from Switch, make sure the next system's good. So personally, I don't really want to see Mario at this direct. I know that's weird to say. And I don't know, we must have something with the Mario movie coming out. I would assume we'll have something. And I'd love to see a 2D game to sort of capture the more casual market as far as families and new people coming to the Mario franchise through that movie. And I'd love to see something different. I don't want to see New Super Mario Bros. Again in my whole life. I don't want to see that name ever again. They were great games. I love the DS version. That was really cool and revolutionary at the time. Having like triple jump and the wall jump in a 2D game. Oh my god, it was crazy. Crazy concept. But now I would like to move on. And some of my favorite platformers of all time are the Rayman games, Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends. And a lot of that comes from just how beautiful the game looks. And it's got great mechanics and all that as well, different characters to play as. But just the hand-drawn art style is beautiful. So I would love to see a Mario game really play with maybe some different mechanics in the 2D space that none of the other games have really touched before. And also, have like a really nice, vibrant art style, which isn't just the 3D-ified look, which turned out to be quite generic after 5 games, which is a little bit unfortunate. So, Kid Icarus Uprising Remake, a 2D Mario. I'd love to see more Pikmin 4. Obviously, a big breakdown of Tears of the Kingdom would be great. What else would I like to see? I'm getting a little bit greedy at this point. So the thing is, like, would they do Star Fox? Would they do F-Zero? Would they do, like, these franchises that are, lesser known, or, they're not the big money-making franchises for Nintendo? Would we start to see some of them? Or would it be the point now that, like, Animal Crossing's had its big success in 2020? Would we see another game, a spin-off game, come out, 3 years later? Some things to think about anyway, but personally for me, really excited about it. Can't wait for it. I assume that it's going to happen, and hopefully we hear about it soon. But let's just shift the conversation a little bit, because this is something that's been going around the last week as well. IGN has said that Nintendo has no heavy hitters after Tears of the Kingdom releases on Switch this year. And this kind of sparked because of the whole PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo not attending E3 this year, as in they won't have presence on the show floor. And it's a very different sort of Expo E3 this year. Penny Arcade is basically taking over and doing the Expo. The same company that does PAX and a few other sort of big conventions throughout the United States and the world, including here in Australia. I really enjoy PAX Australia, obviously. So it's going to be a very different sort of presence. So there's lots of things going into this why the big three wouldn't attend. And I would assume, like, PlayStation, they pulled out in 2020 before the pandemic happened. So none of that was to do with the pandemic. And there's lots of reasons Nintendo might not be there, but, sources have claimed that they're going to have a light release year. And that can mean a lot of different things. I think, Kit from the Kit and Krista YouTube channel, ex-Nintendo employees, Kit basically put out a YouTube short saying that, Nintendo are one of the most secretive companies in the world. Why on earth would the ESA know that they have a lighter release cadence after Tears of the Kingdom? Like, yeah, exactly. Why would they know? Why would they be like, oh, look, they've only got two games coming out afterwards, so they may as well not show it. But I think there is some credence to this. I think us as fans, there's no reason to get worried. If you're just a casual gamer and you're not interested in Pikmin 4 or even Advance Wars or, just like titles like that, you might not be that excited after the major release of The Legend of Zelda. But typically with Nintendo at E3, they do the most extravagant, awesome booths. In the past, we've seen it for Mario Kart. We've seen it for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Smash Brothers, where they just go all out and they just make this big themed room all about that particular game, and they deep dive, showing press and everything. But with Tears of the Kingdom coming out before June, there really isn't necessarily the big reason to do that. Like, have that big, expensive, I guess, floor space to be like, all right, just assuming Pikmin 4 comes out after June, for example. We've got Pikmin 4, we got Kid Icarus Uprising Remake. Just titles like that. There isn't that reason to sort of really showcase the games in that way, especially when it is a very different experience with Penny Arcade and, just E3 sort of unfortunately falling by the wayside. And I say that as somebody who's I've never been to America. So I've never been to the LA Convention Center at all. But even for me, it just sort of cemented all these game companies to be like, all right, we're doing our presentations around the same time. And you got Jeff Keighley with Summer's Game Fest, and just which is almost the same thing. They do their showcase, all that. Last year at the very end, they showed off The Last of Us Part 1 remake, which was, oh, that's pretty cool. It's a big thing from first party Sony, but it's all spread out a little bit too much now. Whereas before we knew that Xbox was going to go first, then PlayStation, then Nintendo would follow up the following morning with their Nintendo Direct. And it was exciting. As somebody who really loves PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, they're probably my 3 favorite publishers. Well, PlayStation, Nintendo anyway, at least. Maybe not Xbox so much. I love Forza Horizon. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just like, when I said that out loud, I'm like, oh, they're not all my favorite publishers. Anyway, not to get stuck on that tangent so much, but just like having it all at the same time, and you can digest it, and you can go through a list, pick out the games you're really anticipating throughout the year and for the first half of next year. It's just a little bit more convoluted now, and I feel like I still tune in for State of Plays and Nintendo Directs, but other stuff that I probably would have tuned in for, like the Square Enix stuff and other, even Ubisoft and EA, I would sit down and watch all of that. But now I'm not going to go and watch an EA play when it's out by itself. Certainly not going to watch a Ubisoft, whatever they call it, when it's by itself. So, don't know. It's a little bit of a shame. But I don't think we have anything to fear as far as Nintendo releases this year. And I did say on Twitter, seriously, if nothing comes out after Tears of the Kingdom, personally, I wouldn't mind. Honestly, that's going to be a massive game that we're going to sit down and digest. It's going to be, fingers crossed, if all things go as according to plan, this is the Legend of Zelda game that's been in development the longest out of the whole series. And I got no idea as far as Nintendo as a developer themselves, but this is one of the longest development times for a Nintendo game, full stop. And I don't know if you want to include Metroid Prime in that, Prime 4, when that eventually comes out. But this is going to be an incredible game. And who knows, maybe COVID affected it really negatively and it's just in development hell. And that's why we haven't heard anything. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be an awesome game and we're all going to be very impressed when it comes out. And I'm certainly going to have my hands full sort of covering the game as the time leads on to release. So nothing to fear. Give us some time to catch up on some games before the next system comes out, hopefully. That's my goal anyway. But Nintendo, they usually surprise us with something. Whether it's good or bad or indifferent, so we'll see. We can never predict what Nintendo's going to do with their hardware, so we'll see. Even though I feel like they're a little bit more predictable now. They've fallen on something which is just such a slam dunk, and people are like, yeah, we want this. It's just like, well, they don't have to try, do they, at the moment? With the GameCube to the Wii, they're like, oh, look, we've been really innovative. We've got this new controller. And even moving to the Wii U, like, oh, look, we got this, we got this. You love your tablets, don't you? Well, we've got a bloody controller on steroids. It does everything except for play the games you want in some ways. But with the Switch, they found exactly what you want, exactly what I want. It's just, we're just like, hey, we want a newer one. We want a newer one. We want one that looks a little bit better. Please. Goodness gracious, Nintendo, give us a bloody beefed up Switch. So yeah, that's enough on that. Hopefully we'll see some more positive things come out of E3 this year, since it is happening, but it kind of isn't. Last story I just wanted to touch on, because I found it a little bit strange being an Australian, but Nintendo Switch game vouchers are available again on the eShop within the US. And for those of you that don't know what these are, you can, if you're a Nintendo Online subscriber, you can purchase a couple of vouchers. So here in Australia, it was $135. You can purchase 2 tickets at the same time. You can't purchase one by one. And that basically gives you a little bit of money off by the time you buy 2 full-priced Nintendo first-party games. You can only buy from a certain section of games, so the first-party Nintendo games and some other second-party published Nintendo titles as well, which included stuff like Astral Chain and stuff like that, and Octopath Traveler, etc., etc. But apparently in the US, these disappeared for a couple of years. And I really was confused when I saw this thing. I'm like, did they disappear? And I asked a couple of guys in the Discord, and they said that they did not disappear here in Australia. And for me, this was something I always utilized because I'm a digital gamer when it comes to Switch. I buy my games on the eShop. But honestly, I hadn't used it over the last year because typically, Nintendo Australia looked after us quite well last year. And we actually got a few of our games directly from them. So over the last year, I haven't really been paying attention to it. But it was interesting that it was not available in the US. So you can get it again. And I just want to ask them, like, why did it disappear and why has it come back? It's a little bit random, a little bit strange, because it was actually a great incentive or a great bonus for you if you were a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber. Like, it really was great value. It's just a little bit annoying if you only want to buy one game and you've got to fork out the bigger amount of money to start off, but it is what it is. So in the US, go and pick it up for $100. Get your games for $50 each. That's pretty nice. Oh, I actually have a little tidbit here. This isn't very interesting, but if you do play Mario Kart Tour, there's a brand new course available. It's called Piranha Plant Cove, and you'll be able to. Oh, it's not available yet. It's on the 7th of February. You'll be able to download it. And I just want to bring this up because we may see this game in Mario Kart 8 with all the DLC coming out with all the packs. So yeah, just keep your eye out on that because we know that in the course before, which is escaping my name, basically released Mario Kart 8 a little bit before it came out to Mario Kart Tour. So it's kind of it's interesting because I gave Mario Kart Tour a second go a couple of months ago, and honestly, I'm like, okay, this is a lot more fun than I remember. That's for sure. I enjoyed it, and I honestly wouldn't be mad to go back to it. I would like to go and play some more Mario Kart Tour, especially when I'm out and about and I don't have my Switch with me or whatever. But it didn't keep my attention all that much. But for you guys playing it, definitely go and check it out. All right, let's move on to the Red Coin releases this week. Just got a couple. It's been a pretty light week as far as what's been coming out. So let's jump into it. Oh, so we talked about it last week, but Life is Strange 2 is now available on the Nintendo Switch. You can get it for $47.95 on the Australian eShop. And the description says, a traumatic incident unleashed your younger brother Daniel's telekinesis power, forcing you to run from home. The police hot on your trail. Okay. So this is well, how do I describe it? It's a narrative game. You're making choices throughout the game. This is a Life is Strange game I haven't played, so I can't really say to its narrative quality or anything like that. Some people say it's their favourite. Some people say it's their least favourite. I guess it comes down to just how you inherit this. Well, what do you think of the story? I was about to say how you inherit the story. How you interpret the story. So yeah, I'm keen to play it. Not on Switch though, because I don't know, some of the other versions didn't work all that well at launch. I checked out a couple of reviews just before jumping into the show. Nintendo Life said that there's been like a fair few long load times on the game, but apart from that, not too bad. Apart from just like low level textures and stuff like that. But as far as actual performance goes, it went well. And next up is another port to Nintendo Switch, the Pathless, which is coming from Apple Arcade and PlayStation 5 actually. And I actually got a physical copy around Christmas time, so keen to play it on there. But if you want to play it on Switch, the game is from the creators of Abzu. The Pathless is a mythic adventure of an archer and an eagle in a vast forest. Archery and falconry. Become the hunter, a master of archery who travels to a mystical land to dispel the curse of darkness that grips the world. Forge a connection with your eagle companion and soar through the air. Perform fluid acrobatics and execute awesome trick shots with a unique archery system that allows you to effortlessly shoot while moving at high speeds. Yeah, so it's pretty fun. I played it. It's interesting because it's $45.95 on a 20% off sale at the moment. So like for me, it's just a lot cheaper to play on Apple Arcade through that subscription, but it's definitely a game that will look great on the OLED. Awesome art style. And as it mentioned, you're basically running around this semi-open world, and as you're going through the world, you can see like these basically diamonds in the air. You press one of the buttons, you shoot it, and it gives you a bit of a boost, and that just allows you to traverse the world a lot more fluidly. But if you're not doing that, you're just sort of like running like normal. So it's an interesting concept, just with the puzzles and everything as well. So it might be interesting. Oh, you might be interested to pick it up. But yeah, it probably be cheaper on other platforms. It just came out on Xbox as well. So it won't be very cheap there, but I'm sure you'll be able to get a cheap copy elsewhere. All right, let's get into Reggie's Rec Room. This is Reggie's Rec Room. I haven't been there for a long time, to be honest. I'm sure he's upset that I haven't been there in a while, but it is what it is, mate. Sorry, Reggie. It is what it is.
Hi, Nintendo fans. Reggie here. Thank you for your never-ending support, for giving me a mushroom kingdom full of incredible memories that I will never forget. Ever.
So this is something I want to do at the start of each month as we do the show. I just want to go through the releases coming out and go through some of the games that I'm excited for and I'd like to play. You know, there's a lot of games coming out this month that I'm excited for that actually aren't on Switch, but you know, we'll get through them pretty fast. So the first game I really want to actually play comes out on the 14th, and it's Blank. It's called Blank with a C. Yeah, almost said Blanc, but it's not Blanc. So this is the game that we've seen at Nintendo Directs before, where you're playing as a deer and a little fox, little co-op game where you're going through doing various puzzles together. Got a really nice hand-drawn art style, black and white, looks really cool. The only issue I've got is like, it's just a game I've got to get Chantel in a headlock and say, look, you're playing this little deer fox game with me, and you will enjoy it, and we will have fun, and it will be fantastic. That's the only sort of thing I'm a little bit concerned about. But it does have online play, so, you know, maybe there's one of you guys out there who's also a loner. You can play with me. I'll play the deer, you play the fox. Then the next level, I'll play the fox, you play the deer. Sounds like a deal. So yeah, that's a Nintendo Switch and PC. So that's right at home. We can play it on our beautiful Nintendo Switch. Next up is a game that's not on Switch. It's on everything else from, it's from Koei Tecmo. Made by Omega Force, who do the Warriors games, but it's actually published by EA, which is really strange. I just want to know why a Koei studio is working with EA. It's just really strange. But they're making a game called Wild Hearts, which is basically a Monster Hunter. I guess I'm not going to say clone because it's not a clone, but heavily inspired by Monster Hunter. You're going out taking down different monsters. But I guess a little bit of a spin on it is that you're an inventor, so you have certain, mechanisms and things that you can use. You can put down kind of like you might expect in Fortnite. You're not really building up structures and stuff like that, but you are like putting down different inventions and things to help take down different monsters. So I don't know. It looks cool. I've got this in my Fantasy Critic actually, in our Nintendvania and the House of Mario Fantasy Critic. So, and this is a game I really don't know how it's going to go. It looks awesome, but I will be checking out reviews just to see if it's worth my money to jump into. But it could be cool if you like have to make certain things to like take down certain beasts and all that. It could have some pretty cool gameplay. And I think the biggest draw about it is just that, you know, Monster Hunter, it's quite complicated to get into the actual experience. So with Wild Hearts, I hope that it's a little bit more simplified to just get you playing and getting down and taking down big beasts. So that'd be pretty cool. Next up is a game also not on Switch, Atomic Heart. And just by looking at the box art, whenever I saw it, it just went through my ears, out my eyes. I just didn't even see it, to be honest. It's just your typical box art, man with gun looking angrily towards you. You're like, oh yeah. But actually looking at gameplay, it looks really cool. You're basically in a Soviet Union situation. I think it's got a different spin on history. How I'm not quite sure. I haven't looked into it that much, but it's on Game Pass. So really keen to jump into it there. You know, for the price of my subscription, which I'll be signed up to play some other games anyway. Why not? Give it a go. And it's also, you know, typically I've been wanting to play a lot more first-person shooters lately, and typically I'll jump into Call of Duty just to get that itch scratched. But nowadays I try to stay away from Call of Duty. So I'd like to play this. Hopefully, just from looking at it, it looks like it's got a great sort of atmosphere. So even if the gameplay and the story fall flat, it might be just a cool world to explore, just to see the enemies and all that. How you're using different abilities with your left hand and shooting with your right hand. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of BioShock, which I also want to scratch off my backlog this year. Next up is a PlayStation VR 2 game, which I'm keen for. There's a couple of games I'm really looking forward to on that peripheral on the PlayStation 5, and that's Firewall Ultra. And it's a first-person shooter game, competitive, online. Heard great things on the original PlayStation VR, and now the game's got a sequel on PlayStation VR 2, and it just looks like a lot of fun, basically doing death matches in VR, which is pretty cool. Reloading your gun not like you would in real life, but you're sort of smacking some controls together to do it instead of just pressing the button. Seems interesting. Like I said, out of my wheelhouse, which is cool, because I've only played, I have PlayStation VR 1, which I'm actually looking to sell to put towards VR 2. But I enjoyed Beat Saber so much on PlayStation VR that I actually didn't play too much else. I played Moss. I played... What else did I play? I don't know if I played much else. But I loved Beat Saber so much. So I didn't look into Firewall or a lot of these other titles. So I'm keen to just dive into them here, especially when there is no Beat Saber at launch. And also really excited for Gran Turismo 7 in VR. I think that's going to be wicked. When I was looking at what VR headset I want to get, I was looking at the Oculus Quest, and I had a chance to play it at our local library, and I fell in love with it. I'm like, this is so cool, but I really could not come to terms with buying a product from Facebook. I just could not do it. And then they put up the price, and that made it pretty easy for me to ignore that. But I was really looking forward to getting something that works for the PC, mainly because of all the VR sort of racing games on that platform. So I'm glad that at least there's a VR racing game on PSVR 2 at launch. And the last VR game I'm really keen for is What the Bat, which is from the developers that what was it? What the Golf, that made What the Golf. And What the Golf, if you don't remember, it's on Switch and Apple Arcade and multiple other platforms, where it's a golf game for people that hate golf. So you're basically hitting all these random objects into holes. Anything but a golf ball. And it's really creative how they use that wacky mechanic for all the puzzles they do. And this is, I guess, a follow-up to that. That's exclusive to the VR platform, where you're basically you got bats for hands. And I guess you're just doing multiple scenarios and puzzles with bats for hands. I haven't looked into it too much, but just looking at the gameplay, I'm like, it looks like a lot of fun just to muck around, because that's what I discovered with Job Simulator and these simulation games where you're a cashier. And it's just so fun just to look around and fiddle with your cash register, and you turn around and you pick out a hot dog from your dispenser and you throw it somewhere, and you're just fiddling around with things. And if you're doing that just with a controller or whatever, or in real life, it's it's not that interesting. But in VR, it's just every little thing you can fiddle with becomes so interesting. So I think just the idea of having these bats and just smashing things and throwing things and having a look around, it seems like a lot of fun. So I think that's where I'm going to spend my time with VR when it comes out later this month. Going to get Moss 1 and 2 again. There's a bunch of stuff. I think the biggest game for PlayStation VR 2 is going to be Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is, from first party Sony. But I just want to play these little experiences before I have to play something that's a little bit longer. I don't want to have a VR headset on that long. And I just want these fun experiences. I want to drive a car. I want to smash stuff up with a bat. I want to shoot things. I want a nice hodgepodge of things to jump into. So really looking forward to that. And next up, we got the biggest Nintendo game of the month, which I am also really looking forward to as well, which is a little bit surprising in some ways. But I think Kirby last year really sort of revved me up for more Kirby games. Was Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. And I guess the Nintendo marketing machine's going pretty well on this game. We're getting some more information as time goes on. A lot more of like the mini games and the things you can play. And there was a trailer of it dropped today where you're going around the carnival, you're getting stamps for going to all the attractions, earning them in the mini games, all of that. It seems to be a lot to it. It's not just like I guess a co-op platformer, which it is, but there's all these other things you can do in it as well, which I didn't originally play the game on Wii, so this is going to be a brand new experience for me, so that's pretty cool. So this game, when does it come out? The 24th, which is, well, it's not just around the corner, but I tell you what, it will come up pretty bloody quick if you're anything like me, where time seems to be slipping through your fingers. So yeah, I'm going to be keen to get this one, because I think by the time that comes out, hopefully I would have finished Dead Space, had these VR titles. Atomic Heart looks a little bit more serious. I'll be very keen just to jump into Kirby and hopefully have that as like a nice, meaty sort of platforming experience. Nothing that really taxes my ability as a gamer necessarily. Although the last one did. Like the final boss, it wasn't that easy for me. But hopefully this one's a little just nice and simple. Nice little simple Kirby game. And give us some reason to, get the Switch out when family and friends are out and we can play some of those games together. It looks really interesting. Just all the mini games and that. Looks pretty good. So we're keen for that. And last is Octopath Traveler 2, which also comes out on the exact same day, February 24th, which I'm keen for as well. This is how I'm lining up. Because originally the 24th was going to be Kirby, Octopath Traveler 2, and Atelier Ryza 3, all on the same day, but Atelier Ryza 3 got delayed. And I'm very thankful for that. So this month I'm going to be spending in Atelier Ryza 2. Got to make sure that's finished before Octopath Traveler. And whether I get Octopath Traveler finished before Atelier Ryza 3 at the end of March, I'm not sure. But I've got to make sure these JRPGs are basically finished before each one comes out. But I'm not too worried if I finish Octopath Traveler or not. If I get a good amount of time into it and I get through like a decent amount of the stories throughout all the characters, I'll be happy enough with that, I think. But obviously, if I really enjoy it, I probably will finish it because I won't be able to stop. But if I can stop, that's the game's fault, not mine. No, that's not true at all. So yeah, they're basically the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 games I'm looking forward to this month. Oh my God. Jesus Christ, Drew, calm down. You're going to play all them? You really going to play all them, Drew? Well, I guess we've got Gran Turismo 7. That'll be like a sit down and haha, it's fun. What the Bat won't be that long. Kirby, Atomic Heart, I got no idea. Wild Hearts, that's like a forever game. Not a forever game, but, online co-op type of thing. Yes, I know you'll be able to do that. That's doable. That's very doable. All right, cool. That makes me happy. So, guys, let me know what you guys are looking forward to in February 2023. Personally, for me, I think my most anticipated game out of all of them... Oh, that's a good question. I don't really have like a big standout, I don't think. I think I'm just really excited for all of them. It would have been Atelier Ryza. I was really looking forward to that one. But if I had to pick, I think I'm really keen just for VR, honestly. Just really diving into those 3 games that I mentioned. Just like having a more up-to-date VR experience. Because when I was playing the Quest with controllers that weren't PlayStation Move controllers, my God, they weren't very immersive as far as using them. But having like a proper VR experience where the screen looks beautiful, proper controls that like sense your fingers and all of that. Can't wait for it, man. Really can't wait for it. I know this is a Nintendo podcast, but I cannot wait for PlayStation VR 2. And it's a little bit frustrating because Sony doesn't seem to give a shit about it. And after launch, I don't know how many games are going to come to it, in all honesty, but what's there seems fun enough. And I guess we'll think about what's after when that comes. But anyway, guys, that brings us to the end of the House of Mario. Thank you very much for listening to episode 242 of the show. I very much appreciate your time, your dedication, and your friendship for coming over to the house, giving me a visit. You got to visit Uncle Drew a couple more times. Visit your grandma too. She's on the house just over. Visit your mum for me. Let her know that we're doing well. We're doing well. So like I said, I really appreciate it. But we've got a little bit of trivia for you. So we're going to leave you with some sounds. And in the YouTube comments on episode 242 or at me on Twitter at iDruby, let me know what game these sounds are from. I think it might be obvious to some, but to others, maybe not. So let me know what game those sounds are from, or at least what series. I think what series, but what game specifically. And would I be able to get it? I'm not quite sure. Let me know. And also there's an invite to the Discord community within the show notes. But until next time, guys, my hospitality has ran out. It's time to get on out of here. So the doors to the House of Mario, they're closed. I'll catch you later.